Hello, it's Midday, and you're welcome to News Today on Joy News Multi TV. My name is Kwabna Chenchen. Coming up, these are former GNPC boss lawyer Chachu Chikata optimistic Ghana stands the chance of winning maritime boundary disputes against Ivory Coast. 2 children burned to death in Kumasi as 4 tanker catches fire as it was discharging its content. Controller and Accountant General warns of severe sanctions for heads of departments who fail to conform to electronic payments voucher system. And victims of Kokomo fire begin rebuilding their homes 2 days after fire razed down their dwellings. The details of these and more in the next hour. To stay on. To our very first story now, and lawyer Chachu Chikata is optimistic Ghana has a very good chance of winning the maritime boundary case against the Ivory Coast. In its initial ruling on the case, the International Tribunal on the Law of the Sea ruled that Ghana can continue working on the wells already dug, but the country is prohibited from drilling any more wells. Mr. Chikata, however, says despite these prohibitions, there are good signs that the final verdict will favor Ghana.
Even though we are not yet at the merit stage, the tribunal is saying that the evidence that you bring to kind of invoke our power to prescribe provisional measures about the environment, it doesn't meet, the test. So in respect of the marine environment, they were saying things like dead whales have been washed ashore on the shore of Ghana, and that means it's something to do with the oil and gas activity. Absolutely. I mean, that one didn't even meet the plausibility.
They rejected that flatly. They rejected that flatly.
So I'm saying that quite a lot of Côte d'Ivoire's efforts before the tribunal were completely rejected. And that is why I'm saying that when you actually look at the totality of what happened in this application for provisional measures, Côte d'Ivoire is going to have an even harder time on the merits of the case, trying to show that they really have any merit. And I think that what the tribunal then did as a result of this finding is that some of the measures that they ordered are actually measures ordered to both sides. They say that both sides should take steps to preserve the marine environment. And both sides are going to have to submit reports, and both sides have a duty to cooperate so that this thing doesn't escalate. There is ongoing cooperation between Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. So on Ghana's side, in these applications for provisional measures, there were very clear statements that Ghana is already actively in cooperation with Côte d'Ivoire and will continue to cooperate.
Mr. Chikata said the tribunal has shut down one of Ivory Coast's strongest arguments of pollution.
The thing is that even applying principles of equity is not going to affect the equidistance line adverse to Ghana, because there's just so much material that's going to be brought forward when it gets to the merit stage. However, the tribunal did something also that's very important. A couple of things that the tribunal did must not be overlooked. The tribunal made a statement. This is at paragraph 67 of the order on Saturday. Côte d'Ivoire had made quite a lot of the fact that Ghana's regulatory system is weak, especially for environmental things, and that there had been environmental pollution associated with the Jubilee field and this and that. And they basically use that as a way of invoking the tribunal's powers to prescribe provisional measures. That really was their trump card at the stage of the provisional measure. They wanted to jolt the tribunal into a realization that Ghana is getting it wrong. We are giving concessions to people who don't merit it, and we are not policing the environment. And this is what the tribunal had to say about that. And this really is a very major statement on the part of the tribunal. It says at paragraph 67, considering that the special chamber finds that Côte d'Ivoire has not adduced sufficient evidence to support its allegations that the activities conducted by Ghana in the disputed area are such as to create an imminent risk of serious harm to the marine environment. So basically, the tribunal came to a clear conclusion that Côte d'Ivoire has not adduced evidence.
Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Samson Ladia Yanene warns Ghana must not be complacent following the initial ruling because there could be a tougher challenge ahead.
The president of this court, Oliver Nelson, having noted that they will not dogmatically follow the equidistance principle if it doesn't do justice to a case. If the justice of the case will require that they resort to the equitable doctrine, they will do so. And he has stated clearly that the equidistance principle is not settled in international law of the sea. It's not settled. It's not as if that's it. So when countries like the US, the UK favor the equidistance, you have France, you have Spain, who also, want to favor the equitable doctrine. So you would find that we are sort of in a clash of common law and civil law. But that is maybe, it may happen. I have already hinted or stated that we have clear cases, quite a good number of them, where equidistance was upheld. And one clear one is Cameroon versus Nigeria. Equidistance prevailed. It could also work for us. But I say that we may need to open our minds a bit and be a bit careful in seeking to wish, absolutely that we will win without any trouble. And again, we should be informed that the fact that they have passed the plausibility test should not be taken for granted. The plausibility test is not easily passed.
It is easy.
I think
it's very easy to
that
pass
the plausibility test, for as long as they have passed it, they've crossed that threshold, it means that they are potential stakeholders in this area that they make a claim to.
In fact, Samson,
so let's not throw it away.
Well, private legal practitioner Kofi Bentel has also been commenting on this issue. He says the net effect of the ruling at the ITLOs is not good for Ghana. He says the decision is likely to halt the country's progress at the Tribunal Ntume oil fields.
I am quite sure that the government is doing its best, all right, around these issues. My worry, however, is that everything I hear from the government seems to sound as if, well, there's nothing to worry about and we have this under wraps and this problem will go away. We are surely going to win this case. Nobody should worry, that kind of thing. And if that is signaling to me a certain sense of assurance that nothing can go wrong, then that is a source of worry. Because indeed, this is not as cut and dry as it seems. We may have a case, but Côte d'Ivoire is not stupid, and they also have a case. What we need to do is understand their case and their argument. To be dismissive of it, I don't think very fair. So let me say, I don't think government is being irresponsible with this thing. Okay, I think they are doing their best. However, we must be sure that we are not taking this matter for granted. We must be sure we are doing our best. We must be sure we are putting everything to it to make sure that there will be no slips and that we will win. Okay, the impression that I am getting from what I've heard from the government side, that, oh, this is not a problem, we should not worry about it, actually is the source of my worry. So I hope that for Ghana's sake, okay, we really are sure about what we are doing and there will be no surprises in the end. The worry is to figure out what the net effect will be, especially on the 10 project, okay? And the key words that were used in the judgment said that there should be no new drilling either for exploration or exploitation. Our information just before the ruling was that the 10 project was not complete. Indeed, it was more than $1 billion away from being complete, and that is where it will start producing oil. The work that remained also involves some drilling.
Tallow Oil says production of first oil in the Tribunal and Ntumi area by 2016, I beg your pardon, will not be affected by the ruling of the International Tribunal against drilling of new oil wells in the disputed area. The company says the 10 wells that have already been dug have the capacity to pour first commercial oil by the middle of next year. My colleague from our business desk, George Yafe, explained what the ruling meant to Ghana.
Field is our second biggest oil field apart from the Jubilee field. Okay. It has the capacity of about 2 billion barrels of crude oil and has the potential to produce about 80,000 barrels a day. So that's just a fair idea. Now, many people were worried about this ruling and the implications for commercial production on the field. What we have picked up, or looking at the statement that was issued by Tallow, is that they can still go ahead. Now, they are saying that they need about 10 oil wells to actually work on production. On these wells, when you dig deep into the seabed, let's just say for the layman, these are normal holes that you dig because there's this wealth or this crude under the seabed. So you dig these wells, you connect those pipes beneath the sea wells to the FPSO to extract the raw crude. So as we speak right now, let me just say for the layman, those holes have been dug already, those 10 wells, which has the capacity to produce about 80,000 barrels of crude oil a day. Now, for Tallow, they are saying that when they start pouring first oil from the middle of 2016, they will first start with 20,000 barrels of crude oil, and then they should move it up to 80,000 barrels of oil a day. So for them, the surety to you and I is that don't worry, because the ruling said don't dig new wells. We can still continue to work on existing wells. Okay. So for those 10 wells, they can put in those pipes, extract the crude to the FPSO to help production of oil in commercial quantities. The stock market opened today in London and it was good news. The share price shot up by 8%.
Oh, really?
As we speak right now, it's the other way. It has started declining. Before I came on, it's gone down by 2%. It's interesting. Again, what are these shareholders or investors seeing that they have now started reacting negatively? Because he opened on a good note. Is it normal? Before the ruling, it went down by about 6%. So it is interesting, and again, it is not good because Tallow will be going out to seek additional capital to fund the project. If some investors are still not convinced about the happenings of this court ruling and the fact that don't dig new wells, and despite all these assurances, then we should be worried about the cost of borrowing for Tallow going forward, because they need this money to build the FPSO.
Well, Joint News editor Israel Lai has been monitoring the financial markets and reports on their reactions to the ITLO's ruling.
Well, I think the international investor community, I'd like to put it, is pretty comfortable with what has come out. In fact, if you look at it, and it manifests in the way the shares of Tallow, which is the main operator for the 10 area, has behaved. Because you're looking at the shares, and the share prices have gone up appreciably. And so it's a positive indication, or that there's some good news. Or it goes to suggest that indeed the shareholders of Tallow Oil and Tallow Oil itself is pretty comfortable with the ruling. And I think that's one of the most important things that we need, because it also sends out that signal to the rest of the investor community that, okay, things are quite okay with Ghana and with Tallow, and so it's safe if we intend to go in there.
I see, but someone would say, is this not just temporal? Looking at how things are, the fortunes may actually dwindle anytime soon.
Well, I wouldn't say it's temporal. And even if it's temporal, what tends to happen is when it's bad, the shares will dip. Okay, but if they pick it up as positive news, or if the shares, appreciate, then it means it's good news. And I think that's the most important part of it, because there are lots of things that may make the shares go down or go up. For now, what has come out of the ILPOS ruling appears positive for as far as the shareholders are concerned.
Well, as complicated as it is, the ITLO's ruling seems to have generated a lot of public interest in Ghana. On the streets of Accra, People who spoke with Joy News expressed optimism that Ghana would eventually win the maritime boundary dispute with its western neighbor. Joy News' Latif Idris has more.
The International Tribunal has given a compromise ruling on the Ghana-Côte d'Ivoire maritime dispute. Today, we find out from Ghanaians whether or not you understand the issues and what do you make of the ruling.
Well, in my view, Ghana presented a strong case, but I'm not happy with the ruling because though Ghana won the case, partially, the decision that the drilling should not go on.
Creating of new wells?
Creating of new wells seems to be unjustified because Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast hasn't presented any concrete evidence, documentary evidence, proving that the disputed boundary belongs to them. And if Ghana should lose the case at the tribunal, then I'll blame the Attorney General.
What I understand is that we have to still wait till maybe the next sitting. We don't know if that will be possible. If that one will become possible and we are able to take that ruling in favor of us, I think we can continue to get more holes to drill and then we will be able to move forward. So far, I will not say halfway in favor of Ghana, but I will not say completely. Halfway in favor of Ghana, but as we are still going on, we will pray that we will get the next ruling in favor of us.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know law, but this will depend on the Ghana government, the lawyers, especially the Attorney General and his defense team. So we are all looking upon them, upon what they can do to raise the flag of Ghana. If they can talk well, they can move forward, that's all.
The Ivorians, when Ghana started the exploration process, and why now? Those are the questions Ghanaians are asking on the streets. But they are of strong conviction that with strong case and circumstantial evidence, Ghana will emerge victorious in this boundary dispute. This is Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
Well, gone by so far, former GNPC boss, lawyer Chachu Chiketa, optimistic Ghana stands a chance of winning maritime boundary dispute against Ivory Coast. Still to come, 2 children burnt to death in Kumasi as fuel tanker catches fire as it was discharging its content. The details of these and more shortly after this break. District assemblies have over the years blamed the lack of development in their areas on the non-availability of funds. But the Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Government Studies, Eric Odrosai, says the assemblies tend to rely solely on the District Assembly Common Fund. His challenge in MMDC is to think of innovative ways of generating funds internally.
Eric Odrosai says, although there are 6 sources of revenue available for local governments, assemblies continue to solely rely on the District Assembly's Common Fund. This over-reliance, he says, makes it difficult for the assemblies to meet their deadlines.
The sources of revenue to local government are in 6 main areas. The District Assembly's Common Fund, we have the DDF, we have corporate social responsibilities, obligations of companies operating in the assemblies. They are also expected to borrow, they can get money from development partners, and they can generate money internally. What I see happening is that almost all district assemblies are over-relying on the District Assembly's Common Fund to the extent that if the District Assembly Common Fund is not coming, it means they can't do anything. That, for me, is too inward-looking, because we have given you 6 sources. So you need a chief executive who will think outside the box, bring about innovative strategies of mobilizing additional revenue to support this Assembly Common Fund. So even if the Common Fund is not coming, the assemblies will manage. That is what we don't have in this country.
He says the appointment of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives continue to hamper the effectiveness, adding that electing them will make them more accountable.
And it is all happening because we have them appointed, and they are appointed by the higher authority. So they know that they owe allegiance to the higher authority. But if they were elected by the people, and the people have given them key performance indicators that you have to mobilize revenue, run the assembly as a business, and they are not doing it, after 1 year, they terminate the contract. Unless we come to terms with that, the assemblies will still be found wanting. We will see the less development we are seeing in the various local governments.
Eric Ojosai says until MMDCEs see the management of the assemblies as a business, the assemblies will continue to perform abysmally. Aishi Ibrahim, Joy News, Accra.
The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Ahmed Al-Hassan, has blamed recent jailbreaks on poor leadership of some senior police officers. The most prominent of the incidents was when some inmates broke out of the Denu police station in the Volta region. Though most of them have since been recaptured, one is still on the run.
Over the past year, 58 officers have been dismissed, while 35 have had their ranks reduced for various unprofessional conduct. With investigations underway, the IGP has assured the service will not spare any officer found culpable in recent jailbreaks.
The recent incidents of prisoner escapes from our custody arising out of sheer negligence are also attributed to poor supervision on the part of our commanders, NCO, and supervisors, who failed to ensure that the security of our vital installations, including the cells, the armories, and the exhibit store rooms, are constantly checked. We also, as an administration, want to serve notice that all personnel will be found culpable who are found culpable in the ongoing investigations relating to some of these incidents of prisoner escapes will be sanctioned appropriately.
The IGP vowed the police service is determined to disrupt the activities of rogue police officers engaged in criminal activities.
Two children have been killed in a fire outbreak in Kumasi. The fire broke out when a tanker was discharging fuel. 2 cars were also burnt in the fire. We've been speaking to my colleague Erastus Asaidonko, who has been explaining what really happened.
Yesterday around 9 and 10 p.m., we had this tanker vehicle trying to discharge diesel into a fuel station around Agrek Kokode on the Agrek and Zama Road. And so I got information that as it was trying to discharge, the nozzle got broken and fuel started spilling in large quantities. And you know, this fuel station is surrounded by wooden structures where they cook and fry things to sell. So it caught fire. In fact, a huge blaze which started spreading where the fuel was spilling towards. So it took firemen close to 3 hours to bring the inferno under control. Now, this wooden, one of these wooden structures housed a widow and her children. 4 of them were in the room, I understand. 2 got out, and 2 of them, one 8 years and the other 6 years, got bent to ashes. In fact, the mother of the children is unconsolable, and she is telling me that she got thrown out of her matrimonial home after the husband died, and she has been fighting this for some time now. But to get a place to stay, she had to erect this wooden structure to stay in with the children, and so that's how come they got to stay around the fuel station and got involved in this unfortunate incident. The police have been there all night. They conveyed the remains of the 2 children to the morgue, and the fire authorities have also been there. They are investigating the actual cause, official cause of the fire, but I've not seen so far the NPA and EPA yet. I understand that this morning they could be there to also take a look at what is happening. But there are similar fuel stations on this particular stretch. That is Agrek and Zama Road. About 2 of them I can count within the Kokode town, similar to this one, with improper facilities, not any structures you can count on. You know, the NPA has rules, and they have structures that you need to conform to. I did not see proper laid out structures on the ground that could help prevent some of these unfortunate incidents.
A health-based civil society organization, Community-Based Alliance, has raised concerns with the siting of 4 stations close to residential areas in the Wa municipality. Executive Director of the group, Yusuf Canton, blames the situation on negligence on the part of the Wa Municipal Assembly and the Environmental Protection Agency.
By the close of the year 2014, the Wa municipality could only boast of 13 operational fuel stations with the requisite documents that met environmental standards. The situation is, however, different in the first quarter of 2015, as several new fuel stations have sprung up, with others still under construction. One of such stations is located at Konta, close to the Wa Kumasi Road. It is not only sited close to residential facilities, but the owner, Buke Ghana Limited, now 10 Jasbro Limited, is using the premises as his office and residence. Residents of Kunta express worry about the siting of the fuel station close to their residential facilities.
The place is at a residential area, and once it is as a residential area, in fact, siting a fueling station there is not appropriate. It is not good at all. So I was surprised later on to see that they are digging. After digging, and today I've seen that the fire service people have come to bury those, containers underneath. It means that they are violating those rules.
Upper West Regional Director of the EPA, Zenabu Wasai Ken, explained that the company was given the environmental permit to operate in 2012 on condition that they convert their residential facilities into offices for the company.
When we went there, we realized that he has put up a lot of facilities because he wants to convert his residential, that is where his dwelling place. We asked that, what is he going to do? Initially, people thought that people were staying in that house. He said it's a family. So he is saying that he wants to convert the place into offices.
Another fuel station, which is more of a worry, is located at Wa Water Village. It is sandwiched between 2 residential facilities with no access road to the facility, which is a more worrying situation. Excavation work has been completed in wait for the creation of fire hydrants by the Ghana National Fire Service, but residents say they are uncomfortable with the siting of the station close to their homes.
I wish if the fire at the filling station should be a bit far from the house. It's just in between the houses. About 3 houses is in the middle, center of the houses. We should go somewhere and get the filling station.
Our lives are in danger. And then there's a risk that any time or any day at all there will be a fire outbreak, which we are the people that will be affected.
Information gathered suggests neither the Wa Municipal Assembly nor the Environmental Protection Agency has adequate and reliable information on these ongoing activities and persons responsible for these projects.
There's no records. Definitely at the end of it, they'll bury the tanks and they'll come and they want environmental permit. That is when we take them on. Because so far as we are concerned, we don't know anything about them. So when we went back there yesterday, we saw that they put stop work, I think, by the Municipal Assembly. So up to today, we don't know who are those who have done that. They have gone ahead to excavate the place and then they want to bury the tank. It's like they want to do it in the night or during the non-working hours. So that is because on Monday I made my officers to go there. Tuesday, yesterday we went there, there was nobody around.
Joy News investigations, however, revealed that the owners of these ongoing projects are close to the corridors of power, affiliated to the ruling government, a situation that renders authorities mandated to enforce the law ineffective. Wa Municipal Chief Executive Isahaku Nuhu Putiaha conceded to the challenge, but was quick to add that they are firm in ensuring that the right things are done.
People try to push their personal agenda across, and some other people also have some forces behind them trying to push for them and all that. But we'll have to always stay firm to make sure that yes is yes and the right thing is being done. A number of issues, sometimes not even declining, but if we have to give the permit, we give some recommendations for the person to use in setting up such a facility. Probably hang the gas here, or bury the gas here, mount this here, and all that. All those recommendations are always given technically.
Executive Director of Civil Society Organization, Community-Based Alliance, Yusuf Salifu Canton, blamed the Wa Municipal Assembly and the EPA for their irresponsible attitudes in dealing with people who flout the law.
We cannot be a lawless society in Wa. We must be an example of a model evolving town. So if the EPA says they are not aware of a development, particularly of this nature, who ought to be aware? Is it me or you? It is their job to be aware and to put things in proper perspective. So if they say they are not aware, the assembly that must ensure that physical development in this town are regulated, if they say they have been giving authorization, who then is giving authorization? You see, what I can smell is that there are people who feel they are above the law in this town, probably because of their closeness to the corridors of power. Oh, it is my government that is in power. Oh, the person who is here is... So, you see, it appears that people just put these things into their head and feel that, look, they are beyond order. They can do things with or without authority. And for me, I think this is getting so serious. And I wish to really think that the municipal chief executive and his team must sit up. Because if you see all of these things happening, and you throw your hands to the sky and say, look, let's stop work, and they shouldn't continue, and they are still working, act. That is why you are there as a leader. Your job is to ensure that people conform to the regulations of the town.
Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
Students of Kumbungu Senior High School are on a demonstration against the headmaster of the school. They accuse him of not performing. Northern Regional Correspondent Martina Bugri joins us on the line with more on this. Hello, Martina.
Yeah.
So what's the latest on this?
The demonstration came to an end about some 30 minutes ago. The school eventually is quiet. All the students it's a day school, and so most of them are gone back to their various homes. Just for a few third-year students who are found campus. There's no teaching and learning going on, and so the school is eventually empty. Now, they leveled some accusations against the headmaster whilst they were demonstrating. They said that he doesn't supervise activities in the school, and so teachers come to school and they don't teach. There's a tree in front of the staff common room. The students say the teachers come and spend the whole day sitting there conversing. Now, they also accuse them of coming to school late, and so they missed the first two periods, and then the first period, and then the last period, because most of them commute from Tamale to Kumbungu, and before they get there in the morning, the period for the first lesson is over. And because they are in a hurry to return, because they might miss vehicles coming into town, they miss the last period as well. They also say he's converted bungalows meant for teachers into hostels for girls, and so the girls are living in that place, and he's charging them. Another accusation they leveled against him was that he's going out with female students, and so he's having problems with male students who are also dating these female students. They also say he has a bad rapport with his staff, and so when they even go wrong, he's unable to reprimand them. And also they accuse the school of not providing markets, and students have to use their own resources to buy markets to be taught. And so these are some of the allegations they are leveling against the headmaster. They tried speaking to the headmaster, but the chief of Kumbungu had called him into a meeting, and they were in the meeting. And so we tried several times. He said he would not speak until the meeting was over.
I see. Quite a number of accusations there. But these students, have they at all thought of presenting, say, a petition with these accusations to maybe the regional director of education?
They presented one of the petitions to the district assembly, and they were also heading towards the district education office to present the other one to the district education director. And so they have presented some of the petitions to these institutions in the district.
So what are they seeking? Is it that they want the headmaster to be reassigned, to be sacked?
They actually say they want him sacked. And they say that he's even due for retirement. They said last year he was supposed to go for retirement, but they extended the contract, and so they think that it is time for him to go and they'll get them another headmaster. They say they don't just want a headmaster, but they want an efficient one, because for the past 3 years, performance in the school has fallen, and they think that if nothing is done about it, eventually they would also come out same.
Okay, Martina Bogwe, thank you very much for that update. Martina Bogwe is our Northern Regional Correspondent. Now, victims of last Saturday's fire at the Kokomo Market have started rebuilding their structures. Hundreds of residents were rendered homeless in the blaze, which razed their buildings to the ground. The fire, which started about 7 p.m., is suspected to have been caused by a gas explosion in one of the houses in the area. Derek Ekosam visited the area and now reports.
Smoke had engulfed the area when the news team arrived at the scene. The slum, inhabited mostly by Northerners, is filled with houses built with wood. Residents tell me they heard a loud sound from one of the houses in the area. That sound was followed by thick black smoke. The fire spread to other houses in the community, and residents had to run for safety. One of the residents, Mohammed Sola, spoke to the news team.
We thought the fire was from this side, from the Kwale. But later we see the fire coming out from, let me say, a room. So we thought that was a gas. At one, we thought it was only one room. But when we get to know that the fire is serious, actually get to this place. So the fire started from this side. So before we come together to, let me say, control the fire, actually, because of the wooden structure, everywhere was burned down.
According to the residents, the fire service came to salvage the situation, but they arrived too little too late, as most of their belongings had already been completely burnt. The residents have, however, started putting up the wooden structures again, and life at the Kokomo Market will soon return to normal. Derek Ekosam, Kokomo Market, Accra.
But before we go, the Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors is calling for the establishment of a Presidential Commission of Inquiry to probe allegations of bribery and collusion between officials of BOST and the Chamber. Top officials at BOST have been accused of supporting the BDCs to rob the oil storage company of petroleum products. Speaking at a news briefing today, CEO of the Chamber, Senyo Hosi, dismissed the allegations, but he said government must institute a probe into the matter. Kwachi Afreniama is there and joins us with more. Kwachi, what reason did Mr. Hosi give for pushing for this probe?
He talks about two things. First, he talks about leak tape. He says that in a quest to deliberately malign his reputation and that of members of the chamber, this leak tape, which he described as selectively leaked tape, is being circulated so as to create the impression that the accusations of bribery, connive, and rob BOST was true. And he makes also reference to the managing director of BOST, Kwame Wadako, his conduct when this entire matter unfolded. And he says that the actions of the managing director of BOST has totally crushed their confidence in his ability to ethically and fairly engage with the industry in his capacity as MD on issues pertaining to BOST and the BDCs, as well as other players in the industry. And on that score, as you mentioned earlier, he's saying that His Excellency President John Mahama and the Minister of Petroleum should constitute an investigative committee to look into the issues of reconciliation and allegations of bribery, as well as the leakage of this confidential tape, which he says is not in any way related to this entire controversy.
Well, we are told Mr. Senyo Hosi has also questioned the content of the audit report commissioned by the board of BOST. How true is that?
He says that the E&Y draft report, this report, audit report, was commissioned by the board of draft of BOST, and he says that that report itself contains inaccuracies. He mentions, for example, that some of the findings represented in that report tend to question the thoroughness of work done so far and the depth of engagement with key officials whose institutional memory may be required to establish and understand the facts. And as a result of that, he doubts that this report is indeed accurate and covers and entirely represents the views of both of these organizations or entities as BOST and the BDCs.
Thank you very much, Afre, for that update over there. Kwachi Afreniama is my colleague here at Joy News. Now, be it for this hour. Before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. Former GNPC boss, lawyer Chachu Chiketa, optimistic Ghana stands the chance of winning maritime boundary disputes against the Ivory Coast. 2 children burnt to death in Kumasi as fuel tanker catches fire as it was discharging its content. Also, Comptroller and Accountant General warns of severe sanctions for heads of departments who fail to conform to electronic payment voucher system. And victims of Kokomo fire begin rebuilding their homes 2 days after fire razed down their dwellings. Well, that'll be it for the hour. My name is Kobna Chencheni Boating. For more news, do well to log on to myjournline.com. Have a good afternoon.